We got the monkey god himself, Jared Brooks, back here on the program. He's going to be taking on Hector Sandoval at UFC Fight Night 131 on June 1st. Jared, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Just heading to Indiana right now, going to my friend's funeral and gonna celebrate my birthday with a couple of my family members, and then come back and uh, pick up a little guy that looks like Hector Sandoval and try to beat him up.
Fair enough. Wow, what a range of different events that you're attending over the next little bit. But I actually wanted to start this interview a little bit differently. I follow you on Twitter, and I saw a tweet that you had on there, and I just want to read it and then sort of get your take on it. And I'm not gonna do a Jared Brooks impression, but I'll just sort of read it in my voice.
Yeah.
I've come to the conclusion that I need to date women that are into mixed martial arts. I say this because no matter what you have seen, you will never know the life or understand MMA spiritually or physically like I do. And my question here is it tough to date being a martial arts fighter?
Yeah, it's really tough to date. I mean, you think that you have the time, and you know, I mean, I'm a big lover, so when I get into a relationship, I love them to the depths, you know. But besides that, chicks chicks are just regular nowadays, you know what I'm saying? There's nothing people girls my age especially, they just want to go out and have fun and party, so
Yeah. No, I hear you on that. Do you kind of look at someone like one of your teammates there, Justin Scoggins? I mean, he's dating, or he's married to Hannah, I should say, and she's a fighter as well. Do you kind of look at that and say, that's something that could work for me?
possibly. There's also a girl that commented on one of the posts that said, "Be careful, girl fighters are crazy," and she was a girl fighter. So
So there are
I
pros
don't
and
know.
cons.
There's pros and cons to it. So it
Okay, interesting. Well, let's talk about you and your fight career. You haven't fought since October. What's sort of been the reason for the layoff?
wasn't really a layoff. There's just slots in the UFC that they gotta, get first. The other people have to fight. So I understand that, but it's coming off of a loss. I've had fight offers that were very short notice, and I wanted to take them, but under circumstances, it's just like, it's whatever.
No, no, I hear you, and you got to be smart about that too, right? Like, some guys will take a short notice fight, and then they lose, and lose one, and then all of a sudden it snowballs, and then you're out of the UFC. So you have to kind of be smart about the opportunities that are presented to you.
Yeah, and this is a smart matchup for me. I think it's a good matchup. He's a little bit older. He's a brawler. He's not a joke. Don't get me wrong about that. But I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna try to finish him in the first round. So
Good stuff. Well, we'll talk about that match in a sec, but one more thing, I just want to talk about your last fight quickly. Obviously, kind of controversial as far as you losing in Brazil, UFC Fight Night 119, Deiveson Figueiredo. When you went to the judges' scorecards, were you confident you had the win, or did you think, like, we're in Brazil, chances aren't looking too good?
well, I asked my coaches and then I asked Mick Maynard, and they both said yes. And then you never know after a fight. You're always in that little jumble mode, So it's fine. The decision kind of shocked me at first. I was like, man, wow, that's my first loss. But went to the locker room, just pretty much shucked it off, and now I'm here. I'm ready to go. UFC Fight Night 118 or something like that.
Well, I think this is
They
a
only
UFC.
say UFC Fight Night Utica.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's UFC Fight Night 131. You're a few numbers off there, but either way,
Yeah.
it's a pretty good card here. As far as the matchup, you sort of talked about it a bit there. What do you like about this matchup? As far as you talk a little bit about it there, but if you just want to expand on that, why is Hector Sandoval the right opponent right now?
I'm 5'3", and I've never faced anybody shorter than me, and Hector Sandoval is 5'2". So I don't know what his reach advantage is, but anytime that I face somebody shorter than me, they've gone down. So it feels pretty good to fight somebody shorter than me now. So
Yeah. And as far as training camp, has it been sort of just business as usual? I know we were talking a little bit off air, doing some more training at Michigan Top Team. Where are you sort of cross training right now?
cross training with my boxing coach, Kara Rowe. You got K9 Bunnerge, Leonardo Tyner. Those guys are vets and just great boxing coaches. You got Darren Cruikshank. He's the Muay Thai and karate slash everything instructor. And then you got Jason Fisher. You got Cody Stamen, of course. You got just a boatload of guys coming in and trying to beat my ass every day. So I end up winning in the octagon.
There's a couple Canadian guys actually that go up and train at Michigan Top Team and all. The Laramie brothers. Do you get to work with them at all?
I've worked with the older one, TJ. I've worked with him a couple of times. He's a goer too. I mean, he deserves to be in the UFC as well. So I haven't gone with the younger brother. Tony hasn't come in as far as I know. But yeah, you got there's this other 155 pounder that comes in there from Canada, and
Oh,
he's a goer
Kyle
too.
Prepelec?
Yeah, that kid's a beast.
Yeah, Kyle's awesome. He's actually from where I live here in. Well, actually, he lives in Windsor, but he fought on a card that was like very, like an hour away from where I live. So I got to see him fight live, and he's a killer. He's one of those guys that is so good, but it's just so tough for him to get fights that I think he hasn't been able to sort of get any momentum. The
That's what
struggle.
management's for, man.
Yeah,
You need a manager.
yeah, exactly. No, it's true. You need sort of that high level, sort of connections.
It's not that hard. It's not that hard to find a manager. Like these fighters are just going out and trying to pick their own fights, and some fights are just not smart and good matchups, and you need a manager to see that. You know what I'm saying? But besides that, I seen yours and Charles Bennett's interview,
Oh
and
yeah.
that was great.
Well, yeah, there's a little backstory in that. So I like interviewed him at the last minute. They're just like, "Hey, he's available. Do you want to do it?" And you know me, like I try and keep it pretty professional, but like, how do you do that with Charles Bennett? Like I'm just sitting there, kind of
Yeah,
just
there's no
smiling.
way.
So I just let him do what he had to do, and I tried to steer the ship as much as I could, and it was fun. I mean, I like challenging interviews like that. Like an interview guy like you, it's very easy. You give me good answers, but with him, it's just it could go any direction. So you just kind of have to roll with it,
Yeah.
right? So.
Hey, they called him Crazy Horse for a reason, and now
Yeah,
he's
but if you
felling
saw that
it.
interview, you shouldn't call him that. He might come after you now. So he
Yeah,
likes.
yeah, he might come.
So
I'm really straight with Charles though. Charles is my boy, so.
as far as the weight cut and everything, is that process started already? I know this fight's in June, but do you sort of start to diet right around this time?
That process has already been done. I mean, I'm like 132 right now, so it's not a big deal cutting weight for me. I don't go into a sauna. I don't deplete myself at all. So
That's good. Yeah, obviously, perform a lot better that way. How do you see this fight unfolding on coming up here on June 1st? Obviously you want to get back in the win column, but I know you want to be entertaining. So how do you sort of see this unfolding?
it's hard to put out your art in 15 minutes, but I'm gonna try to go out there and put it on him in the first round. And there's nothing that's gonna stop me from getting to what I want to get. So there's Hector at the end of the day, and a $50,000 bonus, hopefully. No, that isn't hopefully. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen definitely. I think Hector is a very tough opponent. I respect him. I respect his family. I respect his camp. But at the end of the day, I gotta get what I gotta get. So
And I know you're not looking past your opponent here, but we talked about it off the top. You haven't fought since October. Are you looking for a quick turnaround after this, or is it just sort of whatever matchup sort of comes your way, you'll kind of take it from there?
no, I'm calling Deiveson out after this fight. I'm not looking past Hector whatsoever, but I'm calling Deiveson out. He's in the top 10. How does it? I mean, yeah, I understand that you just knocked out Joseph Morales or whatever, but you can't forget the fact that I beat you. You know what I'm saying? So I think that I deserve a rematch right away. I was undefeated. He was undefeated. Let me try to put that loss on his column. So
And I know another name that I always bring up in these interviews. I know there's a little bit of history there. Do you ever want to fight Bibliatov at some point? It seems like that's a fight that we need to see at some point.
it's it's crazy. Seeing him get knocked out like that. Magomed is a great fighter. Don't get me wrong. It's a great money in the future. Um, I see myself I fighting him in the next year and a half to 2 years. We're both going to be in the top 10. He's going to be hungry for the belt. I'm going to be hungry for the belt. Dude, you just got so many talented guys in this division, and I really do think that I can go up top to where Demetrius is, and I think that Demetrius might get beat in the next year to year and a half. I think that his hunger is just going to slow down just a little bit, and that's what's going to stop him from that. So I would love to fight Demetrius too, even if he isn't the champion or is the champion. I would love to fight Demetrius because he's literally the same size as me, and I love people that are the same size.
Okay. Good to keep tabs on that. My last question for you here. You obviously have a really good personality. I knew that the first time I interviewed you. Is there any thoughts after your career is over of going the route of pro wrestling? We've seen, Ronda Rousey go that route. We've seen, Brock Lesnar come over from pro wrestling. Is that something that would ever interest you?
I was always interested in that when I was a kid, and just buying WWE action figures and being like that. And then I started to realize that it was fake. And then I was like, screw this other wrestling. I'm just gonna go with the real wrestling. But um, but yeah, I'm an entertainer naturally, so I think that I could do that pretty well. Do movie stunts, do a bunch of stuff like that. So I'm pretty diverse when it comes down to talent.
Well, I was gonna say you got the Monkey God nickname. I mean, there's a whole like character already set for you there, and I think you could be like a baby face, like a on the crowd side, or a heel. I think you could do both. It seems like you could kind of be diverse that way.
Yeah, I would really like to just get diverse when it comes down to like fighting mixed with it, because I really want the UFC to be a platform to where it gets big enough to where we can unionize and we can get people into a group and we can take care of the fighters like the NFL does, like all those other people. I want to be somebody that can make sure that that happens, and the only way that that happens is making sure that we get big enough to where we have people with money that can support us.
Have you signed that Project Spearhead thing? Is that something you're interested in at all?
No,
No.
no, I'm slate clean on that. I'm not gonna get into any of that. I seen what happened to Leslie, and she was sending me messages and stuff like that on Twitter, and I read it. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not gonna sit there and sign something that can jeopardize my future into the UFC. So I would rather do that at a different route instead of taking on the UFC. I'd rather be with the UFC and make it go together.
Yeah, no, I understand. Okay, well, that's interesting. And this fight's going to be awesome. It's UFC Fight Night 131 coming up here on June 1st. Jared, it's always good talking to you, man. Just remind people where they can find you on social media, and if you got any sponsors or shout outs, the floor is yours, man.
Yeah, man. You can look me up on Facebook at Jared Brooks. It's with two R's. And you can look me up on Instagram at _monkey god. Same with Twitter. And really would just want to thank Mike Williams, all the people that have supported me, like my dad, my coaches, you for having me on this interview. But quick shout out though, my friend Austin, he died probably I think last Friday of a drug at 17 years old. And every if kids watch this interview or whatever, just stay away from people that, or just try to be a leader. Don't be a sheep and take a drug just because somebody else is. Be a leader. Tell them that that drug isn't good. So if everybody will just be aware of drug abuse and what it can do to you, and yeah, that's all I gotta say.